Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Supercars of London. Oh, actually, probably good evening, as this goes live at 7 o'clock. Regardless of what time you're watching this video, welcome to Supercars of London and this new YouTube series of first impressions that I've suddenly decided to create when I drove the Lamborghini LP560 and Aston Martin DBS from Supercar Experiences. And Watford Audi were kind enough to lend me their S3 Saloon 2014. And as you can see behind me, I have got a huge, it's actually very small, little pocket rocket from Audi. It's got 230 brake horsepower, and again, Watford Audi are lucky enough or kind enough to lend me this fantastic little rocket. This is a 2014, as you can see by the number plate, 64 plate, Audi S1 Sportback, which means that it's got the 4 doors rather than the sleeker 2-door. However, I think this looks a lot cooler, and this video is going to just show you my first impressions of what it's like to drive this car. Not so much the technical details, purely because you can Google that if you want to find out lots of details about this car, because there's the specialists out there that do the research. I'm here to drive it and tell you guys what I think about the car and what it's like to drive from a first-person perspective. So I'm going to be just testing it on terms of speed and everything like that. But as well, we're going to be filming today a comparison test between this car and the Audi R8, which is going to be going live in April during my Living with a Supercar YouTube series, which I'm really excited about. It's the 12th month anniversary of me owning the car, and it's going to be interesting to pitch this car on everyday stuff against the Audi R8. So that's going to be coming in April, but today we're going to be just talking about the first impressions and point of view stuff of this fantastic little good-looking Audi. So correct me if I'm wrong, but this I think is Sepang Blue, which is what the Audi R8 V10 was originally launched in. And these headlights are very, very aggressive, and the whole front end in this matte grey finish is quite nice, but I think I'll probably just dechrome it and make it all black, make it look even more aggressive. I think these are 18-inch wheels, not entirely sure, but they look great with the red calipers with the S1 branding all down the side. We've got the silver stainless steel wing mirrors, which look nice. Inside we've got red stitching, which coincidentally matches my shirt, and we've got the 5 doors, and we've got the optional spoiler, which I think is like a split spoiler. Not entirely too sure, but the back is probably one of my favourite parts of the Audi S1. We've got 4 exhaust tailpipes, which make the car look really aggressive, and this diffuser on a hatchback is just something that probably BMW and Mercedes didn't think of, and the S1 to me is my favourite car in terms of the tiny little hot hatches. Right, let's try and sort out how do you turn off. Ah! No. How do you turn this off? We haven't even got going yet. And this is already confusing me. There we go, we're off. Immediately when you sit down in this car, I've just jumped out of my Audi R8, driven 2 miles to get here. The first thing that I did that I didn't have on camera was I was searching for the gear stick about here, which is where my gear lever would sit in the Audi R8. However, it's a couple, well, probably about a foot from here down to the gear lever. So that's probably the first big difference in this car. You're also sitting quite high. Get a nice view of the interior, and there's quite a lot of visibility around because there's lots of windows, an extra window because this is the Sportback. And then as you pull away, the clutch is quite high in this compared to my car, and you move away and it's an S1, so it's just a very, very fast A1. It's not, I mean, it does feel special. Don't get me wrong, it's because it's an Audi and the way that it's put together, it is a very, very special car. The materials that are in this interior are very luxurious, as you'd expect from a 30 grand A1, but the real sort of punch comes when you've got a 2 litre turbocharged 228 brake horsepower engine, because the cameraman's going to not be able to have it. And it is just laughable. The amount of power that you have in this tiny little hatchback is honestly laughable. And I don't know what speed we got up to there. The speed limit says 30 or there, so I think we got to about 31. So it is quick. From 0 to 31, it's fast, and you could just... This car must be so much fun. I haven't even driven this like 5 miles yet, but the handling feels relatively nimble going round roundabouts there, and it's just got a lot of punch, and the turbos kick in and you're just building up power. And I actually didn't know that this car was turbocharged, so sorry Audi and Watford Audi, but I didn't know this car was turbocharged. So when I put my foot down and then all of a sudden bang and your neck breaks, I was like, whoa, this must be turbocharged. But it hasn't got a turbocharged reader like it did on the Audi S3 that I probably filmed really poorly when I had the Audi S3. And this car's also quattro system, so it has got probably a derived version of what the Audi R8 has. I'm not sure whether it's 70 to the rear and 30 to the front, but you do have a button down there that says traction control off. So it'd be really interesting. We've got a really nice day actually. It's quite warm and sunny outside, but that means that the roads are dry, and I can imagine this car with a damp road and cold tyres with the traction control off might be a little bit of a handful as well. But we're not going to test that because this isn't my car and I don't want to end up in a bush. And we've got an underpass here, and there's drive select, and I'm going to put it into dynamic and put the windows down, and then we're going to go. BMW X5 M Power had no chance. Feels as fast as the Audi S3 Saloon that I had as well. And it just, if it had paddles, I would want one, and then I'd wrap it in like some crazy colour that I've never seen before, and then have the coolest Audi S1 on the road. You don't see many of these cars. I think it is probably because of the price, but you really have to drive it to understand what this car's all about and why it is the price that it is, because price point of 30 grand or whatever plus options, you can probably get this car up to like 35 grand or whatever. And there's an A class as well, that rival. It's an A200, so I'd win. But down here in the center console, you've got CD player, you've got SD cards, you've got Bluetooth, you've got drive select. I'm essentially just reading the buttons I can see. The drive select's quite interesting. I'd like to explore that. Dynamic, efficiency, won't be using that one, and auto, but it doesn't mean automatic gear change, which I would love. Traction control, parking sensors, heated seats and everything like that. Manual gear lever. This car is actually really nice. I've never even been in an Audi A1, but they were really cool, and I thought that they looked really good, and what they were trying to create, the sort of the upmarket Renault Clio sort of competitor, if you like. This just wipes the floor with any sort of French, Japanese, Italian car. But I don't know why I'm saying that, because I haven't actually driven the other cars or even been in them. So I've just driven this car, and this is, I suppose, what the whole First Impressions is supposed to be about, is learning about all of the other cars. And as I've only driven this one's the best. And we're going. Go, go, go. Good gear change. 60. Impressions update. We've spent the last 2 hours or so filming for this usability test against the Audi R8, which is going to be coming in April, like I've mentioned already. This car is a lot of fun. The speed that you can have with this car is of course, it's manageable. It's 228 brake horsepower, and we've just been to the shops. It's relatively easy. The one thing that I was surprised about was the size of the boot. Now, I can't actually show you much footage, or any footage, but I think that's because this car is actually tiny, and I didn't know what to expect. But I mean, even in 5th gear now, I put my foot down, the turbo spool pulls up, and you do get a bit of grunt, which is fantastic. I mean, It's going to be great on the motorway if you're cruising along and you realise you've got to make a quick overtake, or you want to make a quick overtake, and it just sort of eats up the tarmac in front of you. And like, I just wasn't expecting it from this tiny little hatchback. The handling's fantastic with the traction on, the roads are dry, the tyres are warm, and like once the turbos kick in, it just wants to go in every gear. I'm in 6th gear now and it's just accelerating. Like, my Vauxhall Astra was a 1.6, it was a 2007, so the technology and the power wasn't there, but that felt fast, but it did sort of die off towards the higher end of the revs and the higher end of the gears when you were cruising on the motorway, and it only had 5 gears. This in 6th gear at 60 miles an hour, when you put your foot down, those turbos want to go, you're at 70 in no time, which is lucky because that is the speed limit of this road. So there we have it, back down at Watford Audi to pass on the Audi S1 back to, well, Watford Audi. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, just talking about the first impressions of what it's like to drive with, because it is a really interesting car. It's a tiny little hot hatch, there's not much space in it whatsoever, but it's just so fast and a lot of fun to just play around with. And I've just realised that the sun is not in a very good place, but anyway, thank you for watching. If you like it, please like it. If you don't, then leave a dislike comment, I suppose. Oh no, dislike, thumbs down or whatever. But hopefully you like it. Make sure that you comment on what you would spec this, whether you would have it in a red or a black, or how you would want to customise your own Audi S1. And I look forward to seeing all of your comments and likes and everything like that. So hopefully soon as well, I'll be able to drive other cars, not just Audis. So thanks for watching. Make sure that you subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers, guys.